The first brick of the 10FT wall drops, with a satisfying thunk, right as HOA. President Trisha Calder screeches about. My curated vista obstruction, her latte, slashes dangerously close to her. Designer shoes, my excavator beeps its backup warning. A chorus of Meadowcrest. Point residents gasp like I just clipped. The sun. Technically, I did for their backyard grills. Anyway, I am Nolan. Vickers, quiet project manager by day, weekend woodworker by passion, and recent purchaser of the 6-acre weed patch, directly behind Meadowcrest Point in Hawthorne Bend, Colorado. I bought it for $32,000 from a retired farmer who was tired of teenagers using it for parking. I wanted a buffer for my small, ranch-style place. Nothing fancy. A field for bees, a proper shed for tools, peace for the spine. After 40-hour weeks, managing construction timelines and contractor drama, Trisha wanted my field to remain her HOA's borrowed view, unfenced, unpaid, and apparently governed by a 3-ring binder she waves around like a sheriff's badge at every community meeting. She never actually owned my property, never paid a single dime for it, but somehow convinced herself and her entire subdivision that they had permanent rights to stare at it forever. In her mind, my purchase was theft of her scenery. The notes start arriving within 48 hours of closing on the property. The first one reads, "Your thistles clash," with our palette printed on cream card, stock with a little Meadowcrest Point logo. I laugh, crumple it, and toss it in the recycling. The second note accuses me of unapproved grazing. I do not own livestock. She is talking about deer, wild deer that were there long before her subdivision broke ground. Trisha installs a solar trail camera pointed directly at my land from her. Back fence angled like a sniper scope. Then come the violation invoices printed on official-looking letterhead billing. Me for rough vegetation and visual. Non-compliance. None of it is real. None of it is enforceable. But she sends them anyway, certified mail like she is, building a case. When I set survey stakes to mark my property line for the wall project, they vanish overnight. I replace them with taller stakes, and orange flagging tape, they vanish again. On the third attempt, I use metal stakes, driven 2 FT deep. Those last exactly 1 night before I find them pulled up and tossed into the drainage ditch. Then I discover HO8s wearing matching Meadow Crest Point volunteer t-shirts, supposedly reeing my property with decorative river rocks from their landscaping surplus. The rocks are conveniently piled right across my access road in a pattern too neat to be accidental. Trisha organizes sunrise, yoga patrols that end with her standing at the fence line and expensive athleisure measuring my compost bins with a tape measure and taking photos on her phone. She sends me detailed emails with attachments showing angles and dimensions as if my composting violates some cosmic law. She emails the entire neighborhood with the subject line alert. Visors to build storage facility and rec views. The email includes mock-up sketches she apparently paid someone to create showing a massive industrial warehouse where my simple bee shed will actually stand. I am building a 12x2 structure to house equipment for pollinator habitat. Simple wood. Construction, natural stain, nothing. Offensive. She calls the county zoning office about industrial activity, leaves 3 voicemails, and then calls 911 to report illegal wall construction without permit while I'm still sitting in my living room reading the building code requirements and highlighting relevant sections. Then Trisha escalates from petty harassment to outright fiction. With footnotes, she files a sworn complaint with the county planning department claiming my field is a commercial junkyard and environmental hazard. She attaches a photoshopped image showing a bulldozer graveyard that looks like a screenshot from a disaster movie, complete with rusted equipment and oil drums that have never existed on my property. She tells the fire marshal, I am stockpiling explosives on site using words like dangerous, chemicals, and hazardous materials in her formal complaint. It is lime and mulch, bags of soil amendment and organic mulch for the pollinator garden stacked neatly on pallets under tarps to keep them dry. The fire marshal is not amused when he drives out with full safety gear and finds my organized little setup that looks more like a garden center than a bomb factory. But the real turning point comes when Trisha hops my property line at 60 outs in the morning with a contractor, and a post hole digger attempting to install what she calls HOA friendly view windows. She wants to cut deliberate gaps in my planned wall line on my ground without permission, without a shred of legal authority. Without shame, she is wearing a reflective safety vest. Like that makes it official, directing this poor contractor who clearly did not ask enough questions before taking this job. Bad move, Trisha. My trail cameras catch everything in glorious high definition. Trisha trespassing at dawn, stepping over my property line like it is a suggestion. Trisha uprooting my survey stakes with a crowbar, grunting with effort, her face red with exertion and entitlement. Trisha spray painting the words "no wall" directly onto my stacked cinder blocks in neon orange paint. The aerosol can hissing in the quiet morning air. The fire marshal arrives for his follow-up inspection, sees my tidy pallets and organized materials with proper labels and safety data sheets, then turns around and asks Trisha why her contractor is operating without a business license or liability insurance. She smiles like it is tax season and she forgot to file. That frozen expression people get when they realize they just made a very expensive mistake. Here is the thing about quiet. Men who work in project management. We read, we document, we keep files. I pull my folder from the county office, nice and thick, with official stamps on every page. Agricultural exemption for pollinator habitat approved 3 months ago, with supporting documentation from the Colorado State Beekeepers Association, county-approved sound and visual barrier, permit stamped by the planning department with a note that says, structure complies with all setback requirements. Engineering plans for a 10 FT masonry wall that doubles as a windbreak certified by a licensed structural engineer with 20 years of experience and a seal that costs extra to fake. The sheriff watches the trespass video twice, rewinds it to the spray paint moment, watches that part, again with his jaw tight, then serves Trisha with a criminal citation for criminal mischief and criminal trespass. He also delivers a temporary restraining order requiring her to stay at least 100 FT from my property line. The county planner, tired of Trisha's phone calls, emails the HOA board directly with a one-liner that makes my entire year. No view rights, easements, or privileges exist for Meadow Rest Point HOA on the Vicer's property. The building inspector stops by unannounced, sips my water from a mason jar, checks the footer depth. With his measuring tape, verifies my rebar placement and signs the inspection report with a little flourish of his pen. He tells me he has gotten 4 complaints about this project, all from the same person, all completely baseless. Meanwhile, a curious HOA treasurer who has been watching the circus with growing alarm gets fed up with Trisha's behavior and leaks an entire folder of emails to me. Anonymously, there is a line item in the HOA budget called Vista Defense Fund, with almost $6,000 allocated. Reimbursements for bolt cutters, purchased at the hardware store. A memo where Trisha writes in all caps, destroy stakes. He cannot build what he cannot locate. The treasurer also mentions that Trisha has been using HOA funds to pay for personal legal consultation about view rights, which directly violates their own bylaws and could make board members personally liable. I forward everything to my attorney in a single PDF, and she adds it to the exhibit binder with tabs and highlights. Court day smells like stale carpet, nervous sweat, and consequence. My attorney, a sharp woman in her 50s, who specializes in property disputes, rolls in a dolly stacked with cinder. Block samples, photographs mounted on foam board, and a bound exhibit she has, titled Field of Schemes in a font that looks almost judicial. We play the trespass footage on the courtroom screen. The video quality is excellent. You can see Trisha checking over her shoulder before hopping the fence. You can hear her directing the contractor to dig here, right here on my side of the line. We show the photoshopped bulldozer image next to the actual time-stamped photo of my neat material piles with a tape measure for scale. We present the contractor invoice made out to cash with no business name, no license number, just a cell phone number that goes to voicemail. My attorney walks the judge through the email evidence, reading Trisha's own words aloud in the quiet courtroom. destroy stakes. He cannot build what he cannot locate. The judge's eyebrows climb so high they nearly leave her face. She removes her glasses and cleans them slowly, a gesture that courthouse regulars know means someone is about to have a very bad day. She rules quickly and without sympathy. Criminal mischief in the second degree for Trisha Calder. Guilty. Criminal. Trespass in the second degree. Guilty. Civil damages awarded to Nolan Vickers in the amount of $12,000 for materials, labor disruption, and attorney fees. Permanent injunction against Meadow, Crest Point HOA, and specifically against Trisha Calder from interfering in any way with permitted construction work on the Vicers' property. The judge's voice is flat and final like a door slamming shut. Then I unveil my permit add-on, approved 2 weeks earlier while Trisha was busy hiring her third lawyer and complaining on neighborhood social media. A legal code compliant 10F'd masonry wall finished with commercial-grade acoustic panels on the HOA side, specifically designed to reduce their own pool party echoes from bouncing back at them. The panels are rated to absorb sound at multiple frequencies. On my side of the wall, a mural of native wildflowers painted by a local artist who normally does brewery. Murals showing Colleen, blue flax, and Indian paintbrush in brilliant color, and their side. Plain tan stucco HOA. Approved beige regulation finish. Not a single blooming thing, not one decorative element, just a flat expanse of the exact color Trisha herself. Approved for exterior walls in the Meadow Crest Point guidelines. The judge actually laughs out loud, a sharp bark of genuine amusement that echoes in the quiet courtroom and makes the court reporter smile into her stenography machine. Trisha resigns from the HOA board mid-me, then tries to return as a concerned resident and gets escorted out by the same deputy she once summoned to harass me about noise violations. The court orders her to pay fines totaling $8,000, my attorney fees of $12,000, and contribute $15,000 to fund 200 native trees along my property line to soften the view of the wall she tried so hard to prevent. Her face goes white when the judge reads the total $35,000. Her mouth opens and closes like a fish on dry land, no sound coming out, just this shocked, silent gasping as the reality sets in that her borrowed view just cost her more than a luxury.